Hi, everyone. This is the Incept Connect podcast. My name is John Osberg, growth strategist at Incept. I've got a great friend, someone who inspires me, someone who's impacted countless lives in so many different ways. And his name, of course, is Mr. Reid. Del, welcome to the show, my brother. Fist bump to start us off. I should also mention Del is of 26 Shirts. He is the founder here in Buffalo, New York, and in some other markets, which we'll cover. I got instead of my Incept shirt, of course, I got a rep proudly. What was this called, Del?
I think that was Stronger Together.
Stronger Together, and it's basically
our
remix
crest version of it. Yeah, it was a remix. But yeah,
it's our City Buffalo crest, but you remixed it and did some juice. And I also see you got a cool tat right there.
I got this a couple weeks ago with my daughter. We have
matching
tattoos.
That is sharp. And just matching tattoos.
Matching tattoos. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. Well,
she's 11.
I was gonna say. I was like, I know your daughter. Like, she's a young adult. And some cool things happen in your family. But so, just as a reminder, as I've done with every show, this is a forum for builders and shapers of community and commerce to come together, talk all things growth, connectivity, impact, and really just raising awareness on people and companies that are doing incredible things. And so it's an honor to have you in studio today, Del. We ran into a friend outside earlier. We were sharing that it was just in January 2020 that we were in here with some other folks for a different podcast, and it feels like it was yesterday, but not really.
No, it does not feel
5
like it was
years
yesterday,
ago,
dude. It feels like it was a decade ago. Holy cow.
Isn't it something, man?
Yeah, well, 2020 kind of elongated a lot of timelines.
And when, you know what they say, time flies when you're having fun, and you certainly are having fun, and you're making a living doing it. You're impacting so many lives. So let's start with, just for our audience, even though you have a really solid following, for anyone that may not know you, maybe some more about you and how you started 26 Shirts.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here. First of all, thank you for the invite. It's 26 Shirts began in 2013. It grew out of the Bills Mafia movement that I accidentally started in 2011 with a couple of fellow Bills fans, and it was supposed to be a one-year project. We're going to put out 26 different shirts over the span of a year, and here it is now, 2022, closing in on 9 solid years that we've been doing this.
Congrats,
and kind of not part of the plan, but what happens in life that really is part of the plan.
I love it. So 9 years, almost 9 years. You said it's coming up on it. I know you had your celebration. I should also share, because Del is a humble man, you've raised almost $1.5 million that has gone to nonprofits, community, organizations, and families in need. And just a beautiful show of community and passion all intersecting in one. And you can take skill, passion to build community. I mean, it's a favorite thing of mine to do, and so that's why I think we resonate together. So, what a story. I want to shift then into kind of the current day, right? So you started this 9 years ago, just over a month and a half ago. If you were in Buffalo or from Buffalo, I got goosebumps, but not the good kind. But I do have goosebumps because of what we're going to talk about and how community came together to support. But May 14th, on that Saturday at Tops on Jefferson Avenue, we had something horrible happen. And so I wanted to talk about what you were able to do. I'm getting emotional talking about it. What you were able to do, to rally the community and support through 26 Shirts.
Yeah. So when that terrible, tragic event happened, almost immediately people started reaching out to us, like, "Are you going to do a shirt? Are you going to do a shirt?" And my reaction was no, because part of 26 Shirts is we help these individual families. We try to bring families into the spotlight and highlight their need and fundraise for those families through t-shirt sales. If there's already a spotlight on something, for me, it just feels kind of weird and opportunistic to kind of sidle up to that spotlight. So now we're going to do a shirt. So I really had some strong reservations about doing that. And I had a couple people reach out, who were actually related to victims of the families and stuff like that, and so it was a really weird thing for us to navigate. And a lot of these different t-shirt companies that you see just in the country, something happens and they'll put a shirt up for sale and it'll say like all proceeds support this tragic cause or whatever. Right. It's tough for us to do that because we're not selling t-shirts for full profit all year long, and then we can just do one run of shirts where it's a write-off, like, oh, we're giving all the profits from this one, because our margins are so much more thin than the traditional t-shirt company.
Right.
So there always has to be it has to be a specific percentage or a specific amount that we're giving.
Right.
Because for us to just write off like a whole line of shirts, we don't have that bandwidth.
No.
So, and I don't know if any other local shirt companies did something like that, but even with Ukraine, when something like that happened, people wanted us to do a shirt. And I was like, yeah, here's a shirt company in Texas that's doing, allegedly giving all their profits from it. So I kind of refer people to that because I just feel weird about that.
Sure.
But then
Understood.
a couple days after the shooting, Tops reached out to us and said they wanted to work with us on a project, and based on this. And so that was a little bit different. Like the fact that it was actually Tops that was reaching out to us. We greenlit that almost immediately. Okay, this is different now. Like part of this event, very specific, is reaching out to us. And so we worked with them, and they had a design that they wanted to put together.
Sure.
and everything. And so we produced the shirts for them pretty much at cost. And just kind of bumped everybody back, all the different, shipments and printing and all that stuff. We bumped all that back like a week and a half, just so that we could get through this. And they ordered like thousands of shirts.
Wow.
For their stores, and they said we're gonna buy these, and everything that outside of our cost, or I don't know how they did it, to be honest with you.
Right.
But like they set up their fund, the relief fund, and they basically handle the donations. So the 1.4 million and change that you see on our website doesn't reflect the Tops thing, which is totally fine. But they handled that. So we gave them to those shirts, as cheaply as we could. Right. And shout out to Positive Approach, who prints all our shirts for us. Joe over there is awesome to work with.
Awesome.
He understands our mission. He's more of a strategic partner than he is like a vendor that we work with.
It's the best kind.
Yeah.
Right.
And so we were able to outfit, a bunch of different Tops. I think it was like 59 different stores
59.
had shirts. It said Buffalo Stands Together, and we actually just sent out another batch to some of the stores today.
Wow.
So that was a cool opportunity, and like I said, I'm always very careful about these things because I'm really big on optics, and when you're dealing with this much attention, I want to make sure everything we do is deliberate and careful,
always, and
respectful of the causes that we support and don't support. I want to be so. Like I said before, like I didn't do anything with Ukraine. We weren't gonna do anything with this shooting and everything because we just wanted to be very careful that we weren't overstepping any bounds or coming off as opportunistic.
Yeah, no, I mean, another word that comes to mind is intentionality, and it certainly seems to, it's definitely ingrained in your approach. And here you are 9 years later, what was supposed to be a one-year project. There's a reason this keeps going. I know part of it is from these incredible designs. I've got it's been a while since I've ordered. I saw the Tony Stark one with the or whatever it is with the the neon, the glow in the dark piece there. And I know we were talking about before we started recording, so I got to keep my eye out for if that ever comes back. But just a thanks. On behalf of this is something I learned from Mark Sullivan, the CEO of Catholic Health. He sent me a video recently, just wishing me well, and he thanked me for this on behalf of everyone I've ever come into contact with. It was really fitting. So I want to do that here. I learned this from a great man. I would like to give it to another great man. But thank you and your team. And I know you're very humble, but for what you've done for all these families and missions and nonprofits, but also then for this most recent happening on May 14th. So a big thank you.
It's an honor.
Yeah, man, it is. So you mentioned earlier, though, that something I wanted to cover and bring out in this conversation about families, right? Mm-hmm. So you've been really supporting a lot of nonprofits locally. It's well said in the verbiage on your website, who this is going to, who this benefits. Yeah. But there's been a shift from what I've learned from you that you're maybe starting to put focus elsewhere again, back to the original mission. Could you share some insights on that?
Yeah, so we've been launching at this point now what was supposed to be one shirt every 2 weeks for 1 year. I mean, the past couple months we've been putting out like 2 or 3 campaigns a week.
Wow.
But the appetite is there, so people are interested. So
right.
We're gonna feed it. But yeah. So one thing that's really weighed heavily on me, the past year or so was actually you go back a couple years, and if you look at like our volume shirts, the stuff we were launching on Monday, almost half of them were for nonprofits and half were for families. And that started to like really bother me because my goal with this was to support families in tough situations.
Right.
Not only support like sick children, but like freaked out, scared parents.
Right.
And you know what I mean, just like coming alongside those families and just giving encouragement and hopefully some money. You know what I mean? But just
right,
like, hey, we care about you. We want to help. And so just as 26 Shirts continue to grow and evolve, more and more nonprofits locally would reach out and say, hey, can you do this? Can you do a campaign for us? And I hate saying no to anybody,
of course,
because it's all worthy causes. But
right.
like I said, I looked at our what we were putting out there, and like half of what we were doing for nonprofits were for nonprofits, and so we made it so that only special editions, like a year and a half ago, only special editions and comeback campaigns where we bring back old designs.
Sure.
Those were only going to support nonprofits. And then now, it's even more so. I still feel the nag. I still feel that weight. And so what we're going to start doing, actually starting first week of July, is the special editions and the comebacks that come out are going to support the families that we're currently helping with the shirts that we launched on Monday.
Wow.
We just want to give more kicks at the can for these families, because for us, it's very tempting to be like, oh, it's just another Monday, we're just launching another shirt, or just another, but and that's not. I mean, I fight that mentality, and I make sure that my staff knows that like this is just Monday for us, but this is a campaign that a family has been waiting on for 4 or 5 months. We cannot mail anything in. And so, and there's times like when we'll launch something on Monday and like the shirt just flops. Like it's such a, it sucks. You'll put a shirt out there, it doesn't resonate for whatever reason.
Right.
And we just want to give more kicks at the can for these families. So, if we're launching a shirt on Wednesday anyway, instead of, supporting a nonprofit that has its own network in place, its own email list, its own professional fundraisers or whatever, instead of doing that, we want to focus more on the families that we're supporting. That's our mission. That's why we started. And so we want to focus on our mission better. So starting next week, it'll be on Monday we launch a shirt, and on Wednesday we launch a shirt to help a specific family. And full disclosure, the Wednesday shirts. The Monday shirts are $8 for every shirt that gets sold.
That's amazing.
The Wednesday shirts will be 8%. So it is a smaller amount. But if you follow 26 Shirts, you know that the special editions we put out there are sometimes kind of wild or wacky. Or sometimes they're timely, or even maybe a little too timely. So we take bigger swings with those ones.
Like it.
So they often can end up costing more to produce because we're printing less. And also like no money, no mission. That's one thing that Tony DeSimone, who is
Tony.
A good friend of mine, and is a consultant, with us and everything. He always reminds me of that, because I always want to like give more and give more. He's like, well, you got to make sure that you're not giving yourself to the point where you're out of business.
Right, like you can't give from a cup that's empty, right?
Right, exactly.
That's something I've learned in my own life, so
right.
It resonates hugely. I'm glad he's saying that, and that you're taking stock in that, right? Because we're wired very similarly, Del, and big hearts want to support. It's something I learned in my own life that again, if you don't have anything in a cup, then you have nothing to give. So
right.
By hyper focusing, you're going to have even more impact, and I love it. I think it's great. I think that word hyper focus, or whatever it is, 2 words, just supporting those families, because it can be scary. I mean, how many families have come into that where it's like they don't have the means to support
right.
financially or in other ways. So for you to be there, I mean, it's indicative and I should say true of all the superhero stuff. I know you don't think yourself to be that, but like in a way you are a real life, hero. And I'm not trying to pump tires or blow smoke, but it's true. Like, I have the Batman mentality, right? Like where Catwoman says, you've given these people everything, save yourself. And he goes, not everything, not yet, right? Like, and that's an ethos so that will get us far. So I appreciate you sharing that. I think having someone like yourself who's a social impact entrepreneur, any entrepreneurs that are watching this, business leaders that are watching this, what would you say to them, like in terms of impact? Like, what advice might you have for, and I don't want to multi-level this because as a podcast host, don't ever ask more than one question. So you have entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs right now listening, captive audience. What might you impart on them with your 9-year journey that you've been on?
I'm used to speaking to people who aren't entrepreneurs and encouraging them to follow their dreams. But I would say, like, I guess that what I would say was, like, don't follow the money, follow the mission, you know. And if it's something that, if it resonates, you'll survive. So often, whether it's as an entrepreneur, you're chasing money, or as a career minded individual, you're pursuing a position or a status or career.
Yeah.
I have a friend of mine who I always use as an example has a degree in chemical engineering, studied for years to become a chemical engineer, got a job as a chemical engineer, and said, "This sucks." And if I could paraphrase, right? And because I really just always wanted to be a chiropractor. Wow. And so thankfully at that time in his life and that journey with his at that time young family, they were able to make it to work. So he moved out west to a chiropractic school and became a chiropractor.
Wow.
And I don't think he's making what he could have made as a chemical engineer.
But he loves it.
But he followed his passion. He followed his heart. And like you get one life. You get one opportunity to live. To live however many years you get. Yeah, you get however many years you get on this earth. You get one opportunity to live them. And you want to live it living, first of all, somebody else's life, trying to live up to somebody else's expectations, or do you want to spend it doing what you feel in your heart? And if you're doing what you feel in your heart, if you're following like that call, then the money, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, because you got to pay your bills, you got to feed your kids,
Sure.
you got to have a roof over your head. But like all that extra stuff, like does it matter if I drive a Kia or a Jaguar? Does it matter if I live in a 1,500 square foot home or a 4,500 square foot home? You know what I mean? Does it matter if I go to 100 miles away to spend time with my family or 5,000 miles away? Because it's about
it's a word starts with an E and ends with an E. The experience, brother.
It's about the experience, right? And it's
so
just about
true.
It's all about being content. And if you're following your mission, if you're following that, then who cares how much money you got if you're not happy?
This is beautiful. I'm so glad I asked that question. That was kind of free form for me. And that's a great, just an insightful and resonant answer. I was saying earlier before we started recording, I was with Kevin Schmidley earlier today across the street, our mutual friend, another great community builder and, business leader. And, we're catching up on some things. I haven't seen him in a little while. And, he's like, there's something I wanted to mention to you. And he shared a story and experience. And what basically it catalyzed in the conversation was like, just look around. Like, look around right now. Like, we've got all of our extremities, our mental faculties. We've got clothes on our bodies. We've got food in our bellies. I mean, it sounds super simple and super cliche, but when you sit back and think, like, what an amazing, even if you are going through tough times. I've been very, open about mine over the years, that there's been issues that I've suffered, that I've worked through, I guess we'll call it. But regardless, I've survived 100% of the days that, were tough, and same for you, right? And that's a Steve Harvey. The comedian, he's said that. I've heard that too many times to count. But really, just to throw color to you, to your story there, to your response, I should say, is that just step back and enjoy the experience. Emails, calls, texts, meetings, all these things, they can wait. They really can. But without love, family, passion, dreams, excitement, what else do we got?
Yeah, I mean, this thing is like the best and worst thing that ever happened to me.
It's
right?
true.
Like I ended up starting a business through it and meeting so many people through it, and all these opportunities have come but changed my life. But at the same time, it also weighs me down. And one thing that I remember, I saw an interview with Bill Murray once, and in fact, his line is like, "You're not living through a dress rehearsal. This is life. You're living it."
Whoa.
And but one thing that I remember he stressed in this interview was the importance of being present. And for me, that has been, I'll get real transparent here. Like, that is my biggest regret over the past 10, 11 years since, Bill's Mafia kind of took off. And even before that, I've not been as present as I could be with the people that matter most in my life.
Wow.
And so I don't know why I'm bringing this up, but it's something that like has been. You talk about like emails can wait, texts can wait. One of the best things, I met with a local business owner a couple weeks ago, and he told me how his business email isn't even on his phone, so he can manage it.
Same.
Good for you guys. I can't do that, but I at least turned off the alerts.
That's a great step.
You know, yeah, exactly. Because if I see an email, I'm like, oh, I can just bang this out real quick and get it. But like, it can wait till tomorrow. Like 95% of the emails, 98% of the emails I get can wait till tomorrow.
Unless you get an email, a text, and then 2 calls, it's not an emergency.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. So, but yeah, and there's enough ways to connect these days. You know what I mean? Like everybody that is gonna be alerting me of an emergency has my phone number. Mm-hmm. You know, and my employees, we have a Slack connection. They can connect to me directly. So just the emails and stuff like that. There's so much garbage email that comes in that that's stealing like 40 seconds of my life while I'm with my kids, while I'm with my wife.
Add that up, you know, times 10,000 times over the course of a lifetime, and that's a lot of time.
It's a lot of time. It's one of my biggest things that I hate, and there's hundreds and probably, I don't know, thousands. There's a lot of photos out there of just me at events doing this.
Yeah.
It's like the absolute, like, for me, I look at, and people probably don't care, but like, I see it and I'm embarrassed for myself. That I'm so often like, it's just, I hate that. You know? And so, like I said, this thing has been good to me, and you know, had a lot of opportunities to do a lot of good, but everything should be used in good measure, right? You know. So,
yeah,
I'm done preaching.
No. I love it. This is. As much as I love the episode with Chuck, and then the next one next week with Marta Hashesky, who's a rock star, and I'm not just saying this is like awesome. This is so good because it's so relevant to me, and I'm certain it'll be relevant to everyone that watches this and listens to it. And I just want to first acknowledge your openness and candor, so thank you, grateful, and just to say I'm right there with you. And let me throw a little line out there myself. You know, I just transparency, candor, whatever, vulnerability. You know, there was something that I told you before we started recording. There was something in my life that didn't serve me, and it was alcohol. And I celebrated 2.5 years yesterday. And I don't say it for you know, bragging. It's an example, and it's to be additive to your point in that, you know, it's never too late to stop. You know, I could have said, oh, it's fine. Like, I'll just cut it down and, you know, go a couple times a week instead of 4 or 5 times, whatever it was. But it's never too late. I was in my late 20s, and now I'm in my early 30s, and my life has been transformed in so many ways. Meeting people like you, becoming friends. I mean, before I met you after that started, I think it was. It's only been maybe a couple of years, but I feel like I know you better than that because, you know, just who you are and how real and open like you just were there. And those are oftentimes the best types of people and companies, the ones that are real. You screw something up as a company, own it. Yeah. Say you're sorry. Remediate it, right? Like,
dude, I told my youngest daughter yesterday, and it wasn't anything bad. We're just talking.
Yeah.
And maybe I shouldn't be sharing this, but who cares? So I told her the cover up is always worse than the crime. Like, it's always worse than the crime. Like a professional athlete will do something terrible, and the fact that they lied about it, the cover up is always worse than the crime. So I was telling my younger daughter that yesterday, and my older daughter was walking through the room. She goes, "Well, I haven't heard that in a couple of years." So like, well, it's still true. It'll always be true. The cover up is always worse than the crime. So anyway, I just wanted to interject that.
It's so true. Like, you cannot lose by just being real. Like, you know, in everyday life. One thing, this is a twofer, and then we'll probably wrap up, and we'll look forward to the next time we can have you on the show.
I'll talk all day if you want.
Once we're millions of followers, then and I got to keep putting that out. Every podcast I'm on, I always say that for the law of attraction to manifest it. But, you know, now I'm losing my train of thought, but like, you know, I guess what I was going to say that is, you know, this is a 2-4, meaning there's 2 things you can do when you screw something up, or whatever. Like, for example, the phone with connectivity. I used to live in apology. Well, John, what does that mean? I'd have 10 or 15 backlog texts that I'd start with "I'm sorry" every time, and you're sorry, right? So
I can totally relate. Yeah, sorry for the late reply or the delayed reply.
So here we go. Here's a little nugget from apology to appreciation. Well, what does that mean, John? Really appreciate your patience with my belated response. You don't even have to give a reason because that's just more energy out of you. It's appreciate your patience with my belated response. Let's get together next week. I love it. Can't wait to see you. On to the next. Versus, so sorry I was late to the meeting, or sorry late to the text. I had X, Y, and Z happen, and you're reliving it, and you're repriming yourself to live in the past. So apology and appreciation. that's the thing. But just like you said, just owning it. There's nothing better than ownership. There's a Navy SEAL, retired Navy SEAL, Jocko Willink, multiple New York Times bestseller. He's got a book called Extreme Ownership, and it's literally that it's always your fault. You can always, if you are objective enough, you can always go to some point in a timeline that says that if I had not done this, then this would not have happened. And you can always put it on yourself. And if people live that way, it's a lot less of the victim's mentality and more of the, hey, I'm going to own this. Even if it's like your team, you've got a team, and someone screws up on your team, and maybe you really didn't have any way to support or mitigate that, you can still take, as a leader, you still take that on and own that, right? So now I'm ranting.
My daughter has been really great. So
Go.
I don't get.
Go.
My daughter has been really great. So she's at Buffalo State. She's started out as a psychology major. She's gonna go into social work. She's gonna be a social work major now.
Good for her.
One thing that she's mentioned a couple times is like toxic traits. Like that's so I always assume the worst. Like my friend or somebody texted me recently. I said I bet he's texting me about this. And it turns out it was something much less innocuous or whatever the right word is there. And she called me out though. We're all in the car. She was like, "That's really toxic for you to always assume like it's gonna be the worst thing." I'm like, I know, and I learned a word a few months ago called catastrophizing. And so that's something I'm trying to get out of my system, or at least owning it and realizing it when I'm doing it, like catastrophizing, always assuming the worst. So just want to give a shout out to my kid who's pretty great, and now she's sending knowledge and wisdom back upstream, which is
that's
great.
it. Through you're her instrument in this case, and family first kind of thing, right? I love it. Thank you for sharing that. So in summary, right, like we got to showcase what you're doing as an organization, both this shift that you've made recently. I love it. It's inspiring. It's impactful. We talked about what you did to rally the community and support through your shirts with Tops and that fateful day in May, and just some more about you and who you are. And I love the openness and the energy and the realness. And this was a fantastic feature. What I do want to ask as a finale is where do we find you? How do we connect, kind of thing? You personally, professionally, 26 shirts, those three.
Yeah, so I'm at Del Reid, DELREID, not DELL, Starbucks.
Like Dell, like the computer.
I always say like the computer with less L's.
I love it.
But yeah, at Del Reid on Twitter, and then from there you can just connect through like my whatever the link I have in my bio there.
Yep.
But and then at 26 shirts on every major platform, just at 26 shirts.
And what's your website?
26shirts.com.
And those are all be in the show notes as always. And anything exciting that's coming up to keep an eye out for that, shirt wise or collaborations?
Well, the local football teams due for a pretty big season, I think. So I'm sure we're gonna have a lot of great opportunities to come up with some cool shirt ideas and everything. So we'll see where that lands. But just we're looking at a couple different things that are different for us business wise than we've normally done. Whether it's I'll just say it real quick and move on to the next thing. Subscriptions or whatever. We don't know yet.
Something that we're talking about, right? That's part of being in here is not only are we friends, but we're trying to find ways to collaborate.
Right.
Incept and 26 shirts. So that's an exciting one for sure, because I think that would be that is huge upside, I think.
Yeah. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see where that goes. But for us, but just just looking forward to what the future holds. I really don't know. This whole thing, like we come off like we have this great plan, and like
no one does.
This I always say this is a 100% seat of pants operation. Like it was supposed to be a 1 year thing, and now it is. I'm just doing it all the time, and I have an awesome team, and just looking forward to opportunities to grow where we can just continue to hire more people to do more cool things and get out of the rat race and do something productive and awesome with their skills, and also like just as we grow, like I'd like to pay my employees more. Like don't quote me on that.
They're all gonna be like, "Down."
No,
come on, man.
But for real though, I want to keep building, like investing and bringing in new people and investing in the people that we have. So that's really the goal. And obviously, first and foremost, last but not least, absolutely first, is just continuing to support these families in these terrible situations. That's why we exist. We're just trying to channel in to that energy flow that is out there existing in the Western New York community and the expatriates and everything. Just taking that and using that for good. So using that energy for good.
We're gonna be here for another 30 minutes.
I know, dude.
I know, me too, man. I want to tie. Not that it's me, but I'd like to tie.
Cut me off.
No. I want to tie it together. You just said something there, and we said it earlier. Follow the mission, not the money.
Yep.
But the reason you're in nine years in business is because you followed what? You said it earlier. You followed your what?
Heart?
Is
I don't know. I say a lot of words.
P-D, passion, dreams, H, heart, right? I was going to abbreviate it so you could
heart,
guess,
yeah.
but you followed it. And part of life, and this is something that I think we all know, whether we know it or not, or are conscious of it, life gets boring when it's the same thing over and over. When you say it's unknown in the future, that's exciting.
Yeah.
That's great. It's. I mean, obviously there are things that, like a health scare or something, where the unknown can be a little bit detrimental. But in business and commerce, when there's excitement around what you're doing, and there's some uncertainty, but it's like healthy uncertainty. That's what keeps us going. That's what keeps us alive. If it's you wake up, it's 6 a.m. coffee, office at 8 a.m., home by 5:30. Go to bed at 9 o'clock. Well, like, what is it? So how do we spice up our days, kind of thing?
Yeah, no, for sure. You have to be doing what you feel you were created to do, called to do, created to do, inspired, whatever inspires you. Like, otherwise, like that sounds terrible. That sounds like prison, doesn't it? Like, it sounds like prison. Just like what you just described, that whole daily routine,
isn't it?
It's like what's driving you besides Friday
survival?
Night? Yeah,
Friday
night
or the
Saturday
weekend
afternoon, like the weekend, like. Everybody's working for the weekend, right? Terrible 80s song.
Everybody's working for the weekend.
I mean, I don't
I
know. I could go on forever. I'm really enjoying this conversation.
Me too, man. And I'm gonna make it worse. This will be our record longest show.
This is your second show, isn't it?
It's our third. It's our third shoot. We've got one a lot. That's live. I want to put you on the spot a little though, because I'm curious, and not that I want to document it, but maybe this will be my anthem going forward. But what do you think I'm called to do, Del?
Oh, jeez, I don't know. You're a connector, dude. I don't know how that works business wise, but I have met several people now who have been a huge help to me professionally and personally. This is not like
not paid
endorsement.
endorsement.
It's not paid endorsement. It's not even planned. But like seriously, like when I think of you as a connector. Like I've met so many people. You mentioned Kevin earlier. He's just one. I met Steve Colton from Encore. Yeah, we had the opportunity to work together with
I know.
Encore
Got some
and everything.
cool shirts, man.
So it's been that's really what I think is your
superpower,
your strong suit, your superpower. I don't know if that's your brand in the future. I don't know if that's something that complements whatever you feel called to do, but that's certainly a part of the equation. Is you're a connector, man, and I think you do a really good job with it.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Now I can
spitting truth. That's it.
I'll send you a Venmo. I have enough funds. I'll send you $9.99. Is that good? No, I appreciate it.
It's on the house. It's on the house.
I appreciate it, man. This has been fantastic.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of good conversation here. So let's actually wrap it up, like we've tried 4 times in a row. Del, brother, man, thanks for coming in.
Absolutely, man.
This is the Incept Connect podcast here at Incept HQ in Buffalo, New York. Buffalo love, and we'll see you on the next show. Thanks so much, and thank you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.